Alright guys, I'm going to do my best to get through this. Alright, to all my friends, family, I personally like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to celebrate the life of my mom with us. I've had a lot of time over the past few weeks to reflect on her life and who she was as a person and what she meant to her family. One of the first things I can remember about my mom was from when I was a boy, and that I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world. I remember sitting with Mom one evening when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and we were watching the Miss America pageant. Back in the days when we only had 3 channels on TV and there wasn't much else to watch. So I asked my mom what the show was and what it was about, and my mom's answer didn't clarify things for me. It only seemed to confuse me more. And she said, well, it's a beauty contest for America, and all the most beautiful girls in the country go up on stage to find out who's the most beautiful. Well, obviously, these people didn't know what they were doing, because the most beautiful woman in the country was sitting down next to me eating her dinner on a TV dinner, or on a TV tray. So I asked her, how could they possibly have a contest for the prettiest woman in America if she wasn't in it? And my mom laughed at me, and she just laughed it off as the cute mumblings of a 5-year-old. But I meant it with all my heart. She was a beautiful and strong woman, inside and out. I took the task penning this eulogy so that everyone could get a glimpse into the person that my mama was. And I thought about it, and I thought about her life, and one theme kept showing up over and over again in my fond remembrance, and that was the word servant. It seems the good Lord chose a servant's life for my mama. It was a life that she was thrust upon at an early age. When my mom's father died at the young age of 38 from colon cancer, she was thrust headfirst into the life of service. At 15 years of age, she had to juggle losing her father and helping her mama raise 3 boys and keep house. The lessons that she learned there would mold her into the caring, empathetic woman that she was. A few years later, she met my dad, and they fell in love. On June 20th, 1970, they got married. And it wasn't long after that she got pregnant with me. I was born May 5th, 1971, 2 days before the 4th anniversary of my grandfather and her father's death. She was just 19 years old. Christy was born a few years later in 1971, and then Agel was born in 1976. Now let me tell you, with us 3, she had her hands full. Everything was great for a few years. The economy was great. Daddy had a great job at Kaiser. And everything was prosperous and happy. And then it wasn't. The bottom fell out of the economy, and my daddy was laid off from Kaiser. And it got harder and harder to find gainful employment. Mom had to return to the job force to help my dad keep a roof over our heads. But she never complained. In fact, she worked a full-time job all the while raising 3 kids. And not only did she raise us, but we had a delicious home-cooked meal on the table for us every night. And let me tell you something about my mama's cooking. She was hands down the best cook I have ever known. I bet money that if pressed, my mom could make shoe leather taste like filet mignon. You see, we may not have had much money growing up, but you would never have known it. My mom made sure that we were spoiled in ways that really mattered. She spent her precious time with us. She would make sure that we knew that we were loved, that we were special. I played football from the time I was 6 years old until I graduated from high school, and my mom never missed a game in all that time. In fact, if I ever got hurt on a play, I knew that I would have to raise my hand as high as I could so my mama could see me from the stands and know that I was okay. She loved seeing me do what I loved, even though I'm sure half the time she was scared out of her mind. And it wasn't just my games she went to. She also attended all of my sister's events, making sure to spend that precious time with all of us. Seeing her kids happy and enjoying life is what filled my mom with joy. Even when we did stupid things, as most teenagers do, when they were growing up. She wouldn't get too hard on us. She would just pull herself up from the bootstraps and carry on. Excuse me. I remember one time when all three of us kids were home and Mom was at work, and one of my sister Christy's friends was trying to show off his truck. Well, he showed off a little too much and drove it into our living room. That was a phone call that I hated making to Mom, but what she said still has me laughing to this day. I called her and I said, "Mom, somebody just ran through our house." And after a slight pause, she replied, "What, did you catch him?" I was confused, so I said, "What?" And she repeated, "Did you catch the person that ran through the house?" I said, "No, Mom, I don't think you understand. He ran through the house in his truck and is parked in our living room." I don't remember much after that, but I remember that she was already in the living room before I was able to hang up the phone. After high school, I decided to join the Army and focus on my own family, and I thought Mom and Dad might get to start enjoying their life together, but God had other plans. In 1992, we welcomed Gabby into the family, and Mom took to task raising her as her own. She loved serving her family and seeing them succeed. And when my dad fell in 2001 and broke his hip, it was once again that my mom was the glue holding everything together. She had to serve him in ways that she never had to before. And in 2008, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. I was 37, 1 year younger than my grandfather when he died from colon cancer. Because of family history, we decided to get genetic testing done, and we got confirmation that I had a gene mutation that's heredity and causes various cancers, and that it was passed down to us from her and her father. Now, she never said this to me, but when I told her about the genetics, I could see it in her eyes, just how much it hurt her. She thought that she was at fault, that she couldn't even imagine being the source of one of her children's pain and suffering. So when my beautiful wife, Tanya, had to enter the workforce to help pay for the cancer treatments, it was my mom who once again stepped up and stepped into the role of servant and sat through me with months of chemo treatments. And I wouldn't understand how much watching me take chemo hurt her until years later when I had to watch her doing the same thing. These are just a few of the many, many examples of how great of a human, of a mother, of a wife, of a mentor, of a role model, and the servant my mom was. But after my reflections, I started getting a little sad, and I started thinking my mom's life was incomplete. After all, she never got to travel the world. She never got to walk on the Great Wall of China. She never got to visit the cliffs of Dover. And she never got to kiss my dad under the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So I looked to the Bible for reference, and I found a couple of passages that helped ease my heart. But there was one that really stood out to me. It's Matthew 20, 25, 28. But Jesus called to them and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord over them, and the great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must also be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Amen. The greatest among us are called to be servants. And to me, at least, my mom was among the greatest of all time. I can only imagine my mom up in heaven preparing a place for us to come join her when we are done on earth. And I imagine Jesus placing his hand on her shoulder and saying, "Ginger, it's finished now. That's my job."